All right, let's now shift our attention to what is happening in Sri Lanka, where the former strongman President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who had to flee in the middle of the night because of the widespread protest that had been brought about due to the economic collapse in the country, has now returned to the island nation. Now, remember, he'd fled from Sri Lanka in the month of July as the country was facing its worst economic crisis in its history. And Rajapaksa arrived at Colombo's Bandaranaike International Airport. He flew from Thailand via Singapore, and he was greeted by lawmakers from his party. The Sri Lanka People's Front, a sign of his enduring influence in the country. But it will be very interesting to see as to how the people, the common people, of course, react to the fact that Rajapaksa is now back in the country. He left the airport in a heavily guarded convoy. Rajapaksa had fled first to Maldives. From Maldives, he then went to Singapore. And from Singapore, he went to Thailand. At a point, he was even said to be applying for a visa to go to the United States of America because he was formerly an American citizen who gave up his American citizenship before becoming the president in Sri Lanka. But the Americans were not willing to play ball, and therefore he ended up in Maldives, Singapore, and then on to Thailand. What you're looking at on your screens are the visuals from the 9th of July, where the people who stormed inside the presidential palace also decided to use some of the equipment that was there in the private gym of their president. And they were pretty happy using the equipment that they thought that their president would, of course, be using. Now remember, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is someone who's seen as the man who orchestrated the economic collapse of Sri Lanka through his policies, financial policies that simply did not reflect the demands of the time. And these are scenes from from inside of the presidential palace after it was stormed by the people. And on that very day, Rajapaksa was in fact escorted out of Colombo by the Sri Lankan military in a naval ship, because this was seen as the only place that Gotabaya Rajapaksa would be safe. Now, Rajapaksa from Sri Lanka first fled to the Maldives, and from Maldives he went to Singapore, and from Singapore he then fled to Thailand. He was reportedly unhappy in Thailand because the restrictions that were imposed by the Thai government that meant that he was virtually a prisoner at his hotel. Last month, Rajapaksa's younger brother, Basil Rajapaksa, had a meeting with the current President Ranil Wickremesinghe. He'd asked Wickremesinghe to provide protection for Gotabaya's return. Being a former president of Sri Lanka, Rajapaksa, according to the Sri Lankan law, is entitled for a house, a vehicle, and also for a set of bodyguards. The opposition politicians have accused Wickremesinghe of shielding the once powerful Rajapaksa family. Sri Lanka has endured months of shortages of crucial goods, including food, fuel, medicine, and skyrocketing inflation after running out of foreign currency to finance essential imports. But after months of negotiations, the International Monetary Fund agreed on Thursday to a conditional $2.9 billion bailout package to repair Sri Lanka's battered finances. And also, our correspondent, Dasuni Athauda, has been tracking the story pretty closely for us and has sent us this report from Colombo. Take a look.
After fleeing from the island nation for a month and a half amidst a spiraling economic crisis, Sri Lanka's former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived back into Sri Lanka in the early hours of today. And it was seen that he was escorted out of the airport amidst heavy security, with Sri Lanka's defense officials now confirming that a special security unit will be provided for the former president purely for his security. It will be interesting to see how the Sri Lankan public will react to this news, given that a majority of the view that it was the former president who spearheaded the Sri Lankan economy into its crisis right now. Stay with WION as we track the very latest developments. Reporting from Colombo, I'm Dasuni Athauda.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.